It is literally 2 years of podcasting, 52 weeks a year, not missing 1 week. And I'm very, very proud of that. And so I'm here celebrating it today.
Hey there, and welcome to the Cinnamon Effect podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Hand, and I'm thrilled to have you with me on this vibrant journey of discovery and growth. This podcast is your go-to space for embracing intention, where you'll find clarity on your unique path, deepen those meaningful connections, and unleash your creativity like never before. We'll explore how to build unshakable confidence and celebrate the beauty of gratitude, all while savoring the calm that consistency brings to our lives. Thank you for being with me. Let's sprinkle a little cinnamon into your day and make life sweeter, healthier, and more fulfilling.
Today is a special day. I am here recording my 104th episode. I know it sounds weird because 104 is a little bit of an odd number, but it is literally 2 years of podcasting, 52 weeks a year, not missing 1 week. And I'm very, very proud of that. And so I'm here celebrating it today. So thank you guys so much for being along the ride with me for 2 whole years. Unreal. So I started this podcast in October of 2023 with low expectations, lack of planning, and imposter syndrome. But I had a fire in my heart and a desire to share my wellness journey with the world. I released my first episode on November 1st, 2023. And since then, I have produced a new episode every week, putting out a whopping 104 episodes. Even though I had a blast recording each and every episode, there were a lot of times I thought about quitting. But I have kept on going, and to my surprise, have grown the show to the top 5% of podcasts globally. I'm very proud and honored that so many people listen and enjoy what I have to say every week. I've been listened to in over 20 countries, and that is not lost on me. That feels very special. I feel like whenever I look at the analytics and I see all these different countries pop up, I'm like in amazement that people across the world are listening to the Cinnamon Effect and wanting to, increase their health and wellness. And so it's so, so special to me. I've interviewed experts, friends, authors, and doctors. We've talked about wellness, the subconscious mind, confidence, style, and even hunting pythons. One of my biggest takeaways of this whole journey has been that the best practices for our health don't cost a thing. We have so much power to be healthier with small lifestyle changes that make a big impact. We can rise with the sun and get that morning light, which helps to balance our hormones and set our circadian rhythm. We can reduce blue light at night and go to bed early to help our bodies heal. We can walk barefoot to get that grounding energy, and we can sweat daily to release our bodies from toxins. We can eliminate the foods and drinks that don't serve us. We can declutter and find clarity. Don't forget about connection. We can connect with our community and friends and add so much richness to our lives. We can do things that scare us and take us out of our comfort zone. And all of this is free. And so I just wanted to make that point with you guys that so many of the amazing things that we can do for our health are right there at our fingertips, and we don't have to overcomplicate it. Yes, there are the fancy gadgets and the different things, the biohacking tools and all of that we can have fun with and do things with. And I love those things as well. But really what I've learned through 2 years of the Cinnamon Effect is that so much of what contributes to our physical health and our mental health is free. And it's easy for the most part. It may not seem easy in the very beginning when you are establishing a new routine, but getting that morning sunlight, doing these simple little things, going for a walk outside, taking off your shoes, spending some time on the beach or with your feet in the grass is such a big piece of what is going to make us happier and healthier. And the connection and the confidence and the creativity that we can weave into our lives is also going to help with our fulfillment and making life more fulfilling. And so that has really been my goal over these last 2 years of doing this show. And it's funny because I don't know if you realize that a lot of the Cinnamon Effect is not edited. We're having authentic, candid conversations and just rolling with it. It's very rare that we take out anything that's been recorded during the podcast. Not to say that we won't or we haven't, but most of it is a free-flowing conversation. Exactly like these solo episodes. It's me kind of finding my flow and my groove and just rolling with it. So I wanted to share that with you. Of course, there are people that make it possible. I've got Ashley sitting in the room with me here today, and there's so many people that make the Cinnamon Effect possible, and I'd like to extend a thank you, but just wanted you to know that it's really hardly edited at all. And that to me makes this podcast special as well. It's really easier, I think, to make anything sound good in some sound bites and some editing. But, we're really here having these authentic, special conversations. So I wanted to talk a little bit. It's funny, like, how do I recap the last 2 years? Kind of difficult to do, but there were some things and thoughts that I had when I was making my notes over the last couple days, and I've got my laptop here with some notes, and so I wanted to just cover some things that have been going on with me and talk to you guys about that, because I feel like you enjoy a little life update every once in a while, so I'm going to give you that. I've really found it important to filter out the noise in my life. And, there can be good noise and bad noise, but there's noise that come from people that there's people that support you and they're showering you with accolades and they're showering you with this positive noise. But there's people that just don't really understand your goals and what you're doing. And I have had to keep myself in check when it comes to that and really filter out the noise from the people that I know just don't really understand. I've heard, oh, well, she's just trying to be an influencer. And I get that. And I think, being an influencer is not a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. And I think it's amazing for so many people that get out there and they have the confidence and the perseverance to put themselves out there so constantly on a daily basis. But, I felt like influencer didn't really encapsulate what I was trying to accomplish. And I feel like I'm creating a movement. I'm creating space for people that want to enjoy and talk about health and wellness and really commit to becoming the best version of themselves. I'm creating a media channel, which I take a big responsibility with, that I try and show all different sides of health and, really expose my audience to topics and different things that maybe they wouldn't normally come across. So I have loved creating that space, but it's not to go without saying that sometimes people are just not going to get what you're doing, and that's okay. And I've had to release that. Well, I would take it to heart, or I would think that someone didn't like what I was doing. No, they may not even know. They may not like it or dislike it. They may just not understand exactly what you're doing, and that's okay. So much of this podcast has actually been pieces of my life and seeds that were planted so many years ago. And I was reflecting on this because, as you know, if you followed along for a while, I've had people come on the podcast that have been in my life 30 plus years. Usually someone that I choose to have on, we have some kind of a relationship or a backstory behind it. And I've really loved that whole part of connecting with these people on this show. And so I started thinking about this concept of planting seeds. And these seeds can be planted so long ago. Maybe it's something that you did when you were a child or you were a teenager and you planted those seeds. And maybe you neglected those seeds at some point in your life, but you picked it back up, you started watering them again, and to see how these things flourish later on. And I noticed that some of these seeds that I planted years ago have grown into such beautiful parts of my life. And and what I'm really speaking about is dance. And dance has been a part of my life since I was a kid. But you get to a certain point where you're not dancing because of your age or your physical abilities at the time. And I realized that dance has come back into my life recently, actually. I've had two different opportunities where I am dancing in on big stages. In fact, coming up, this is something interesting that I'm going to share a little bit with you now, and then you'll find out more later. But I am going to cheer on the field this weekend with my Miami Dolphins cheerleader alumni. We are every week or every season they have a weekend for the cheerleader alumni, and it's this weekend. I kind of, was going back and forth like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And ultimately I said, you know what? How many more times am I going to be able to do it based on scheduling or different opportunities, or am I going to want to do it? And I really wanted to do it. When I investigated, deep down, I really wanted to do this performance. What's also special about this is that my son will be seeing his first NFL game, and mom will be on the field during the pregame. And it's funny because when I did the alumni weekend the last time was when I was pregnant with my son. So 9.5 years ago, he was in my belly and I danced on the field. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I was so sick. I was so morning sick. I think I was like 8 or 9 weeks pregnant. And I thought, maybe I'll just go and do this. I know it seems like maybe not the right choice to do, but I thought maybe I'll go and dance on the field and it'll give me something to concentrate on. I can take my mind off this terrible morning sickness that I'm having. And it actually did just that. I remember being there that weekend and at practice and thinking, oh man, I feel pretty good. And that it really didn't carry through because I was very nauseous like my entire pregnancy. But for that short period of time that weekend, as we were practicing and getting ready, I felt great. So I always tell him the first time he was ever on the field was in my belly. But this will be the first time he's actually seeing an NFL football game. And so I'm super excited for this milestone and extra excited that I get to do this with him. So I have been, getting my 45-year-old brain back in action, trying to learn choreography. It's not a whole lot of choreography, but still carving in time into the schedule and learning that choreography. I was like, okay, I've got to get back into this. It's not as easy as it seems. So watching these YouTube videos, learning the choreography, and I will be doing a practice the day before and then actually taking the field this Sunday. So extra special, those seeds that I planted early on in my life as far as dance resurfacing currently. I also got another really fun and exciting opportunity, and maybe by the time you hear this episode, I'll be telling more about it, but I got asked to do a ballroom dancing competition, which I am not a ballroom dancer. I have taken maybe a couple weeks of classes with my husband very early on. I think it was like before we got married. I want to say he surprised me for Valentine's Day or something, and we learned. We went and took some ballroom dancing lessons, which that's the kind of man my husband is. Like, he knows I like to dance, and he thought that would be something cool. And actually, we had a blast. Although he says that I did not let him lead at all, and so I've got to work on that for this time. But I will, in 2026, be taking part in a ballroom dancing competition, and you guys will probably see more from that. And it's raising money for something that benefits children, and so I'm really excited about that. And again, that's not typically the type of dance I've ever done, but I'm super, super excited to learn something new. It's going to be a bunch of weeks of me going and taking lessons and learning different, styles and choreography and all of that, and pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, which you guys know I love to do and I love to talk about. So that leads me to opportunities that, these are really positive opportunities, but opportunities that end abruptly or where things change in your life that you weren't expecting. And this has happened to me twice recently. I want to say two for two, the two dance opportunities and then the two that kind of changed, they morphed into something different. And the first one is maybe you guys know, but I have been in real estate since I think I got my license when I was 24 years old, so 20 years. And real estate has always been a part of my life. It's not something that I've pursued as like a full-time career in a while, but real estate has always been a part of what I do. So I was with another brokerage that the opportunity with that brokerage ended abruptly. There was really no conversation about it. It just kind of ended. And, my ego wanted to be like, this is like, why wouldn't they want me? Right? Why wouldn't they want me to be here? And I understand why, because I was not devoting my whole, I feel like to be successful in real estate, a lot of times you have to devote your every moment to it, and I understand that. And my heart was not in making real estate my full identity. So I understand why it happened. But it does not mean that I didn't take it as like a personal jab against me. There was no conversation surrounding it. It just kind of happened. And so I had to wrap my head around that because I am still pursuing different real estate opportunities. I do it more on a personal level as far as investing and things like that. And so I really needed to figure something else out and find a home for my real estate license. And I have done that. It's funny how when one door closes and another door just seamlessly opens up. And so that is where I'm at right now. It all happened in like the span of a week, and seamlessly this other door opened, and it feels like a very aligned decision to kind of move over to this other brokerage. So I think the lesson in that is that one door may close, another one will open, and it may be even more aligned with what your goals are. And so I'm taking that as a very positive sign and moving forward, and not looking back. So the next thing that happened, which I will talk more about as well, is that I am podcasting in a brand new space. And it's funny how this came about because I was at one studio and now I'm at a different studio, and nothing bad happened, nothing awful happened, but it was like a very distinct door closing and another one swiftly opening into this new ownership and this new studio and this new energy surrounding the podcasting and a new team and a new workflow and all of these things. So it's really just funny because I feel like when I can sense something, it's the flow is breaking, and I know you guys know what that feels like, but I could feel the flow maybe breaking at this other studio that I was with. And so swiftly I said, please show me please show me the right decision and the next step. And immediately this other opportunity arose and I took it, and here I am. And you guys will notice, because I think some of you have already noticed when you've seen clips out there, that the quality looks amazing. And so I'm very, very excited to be here, Pod Plus Studios. But it's not without a little bit of growing pains, right? It can be such an amazing experience, but you're also having to adjust. And especially when you felt comfortable in one place for so long, moving into another one, there are those like growing pains and that nervous energy of like getting to know everyone and doing this whole thing. But I just want to tell you that I find myself constantly in these types of situations, and it only makes me grow. It makes me grow stronger. It makes me understand more. It always is a good fit and a good move. And you can look back and say, "Oh my gosh, I like totally understand why that happened and why why the universe made that made that move basically." So, don't be scared off. Something in your life shifts, your job, a relationship, a friendship. If any of that shifts, there's something better on the horizon for you. And I feel like I always believe that and, move forward with a positive mind. And I think it's important. Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back. You just keep moving forward. So back to the dance and the planting of the seeds. Another element to that is the person that asked me to be a part of this ballroom dancing competition. Her name is Gail. She's 82 and she has been dancing for 20 years, which means that she started ballroom dancing when she was 62. She's an incredible person. She sent me a video last night of her dancing on a stage. She competes in Europe ballroom dancing, and I'm so inspired by her because I said, "Oh my God, Gail, first of all, her skin is incredible." I'm like, I don't know what she's like. I don't do a thing to it. I'm not sure if I believe Gail when she says that, but there was just so much about her that I was in awe of. And the fact that she started ballroom dancing when she was 62, she is now putting herself on stages and dancing. And her life-size photo is up in the dance studio and she's decked out in rhinestones and feathers. And I thought, this woman is living the life. Okay. So Gail is the one that recruited me to be in this competition. And I just feel like it's such a good lesson for us all to think that we could start something new in our 60s and be successful. Not that it's success related, but just find so much joy and find so much happiness in doing this new thing that we never even knew that was possible, right? So all of you people in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s acting like you cannot start something new, think about Gail in her rhinestones and her feathers because she is out there living. And it brings me back to this woman that I went to college with. And actually, I think she was 62. She was in her early 60s. She had never gotten a college degree. She sat next to me in a class and we became friends. And I thought, why is this woman, me and my 21-year-old self, why is this woman going back to college? She already had a career. She actually already had an amazing career. She was making good money. She was at the, pinnacle of her career. But it was something that she had always regretted was not going to college. And here she did in her 60s while she's working, while she has grown children, and she's going back to college. And that woman has stuck with me. I can picture her face. Unfortunately, I cannot remember her name, but I can picture her face and her sitting next to me in class, and we would share notes. And she was like the best study partner, of course, so dedicated, because I feel like when you do stuff later in life, you're so clear about what you want that you do everything to perfection. You try as hard as you possibly can try because you know that this is kind of the last shot, right? So I think about that, and now I'm completely inspired by Gail and competing in ballroom dancing, and so I just wanted to share that with you guys. I am in my yes era. So when I look at the dance opportunities, I said yes to them. I felt really 100% that I wanted to do these things. And that's kind of how do I feel the moment I hear about it? Do I feel really excited? Is this something I really want to do? Or am I kind of like, I don't know. And if I'm kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's not the right opportunity. But I'm in my yes era. And what I mean by that is that I read a book in 2011. It's funny, I had to pull the book out and see like, when was this that I read this book? But it was called A Place of Yes. And it's a book written by Bethany Frankel, the New York, she was the New York City housewife. She went on to build Skinny Girl Margarita. I am a huge fan of Bethany Frankel. I hope she's on my dream list of guests to have on this podcast. I find her so interesting. She's so outspoken. She's not afraid to put herself outside of her comfort zone. She just walked a runway in Paris Fashion Week. There's so much about her that I really admire. And at the time, in 2011, I had just gotten married, and I was thinking about this. I pulled this book out, and so many parts of this book stuck with me over the years, and I feel like I'm using a lot of that gusto that she has in this book right now in my life. And so I'm thinking back, who was I in 2011? Well, I had just gotten married. My husband was at the top of his career. He had started a business and he was really doing well at that time. And I remember feeling like I needed some motivation. I needed some motivation in my life. Where was I headed? What did I want to do? I really wanted to embark on different business ideas, but I was not a natural born leader or business person. So that could have been a little bit of why it didn't work out, which is totally okay because it's brought me to a different place in my life and different goals surfaced, and obviously I'm here for a reason. But at the time I had started a jewelry business and I had big ideas and high hopes, and it really just didn't work out. I didn't have a good plan. And so I remember around this time was kind of when I was coming off of that and thinking what really should I be doing? And so I read this book, A Place of Yes, written by Bethany Frankel. There was so much of the book that I felt like I related to. She talks about her less than perfect childhood, the whole grind of life, finding her way into business. She talks about all her failures, and she failed kind of a lot as well. She had this idea to buy all these pashminas, and she says she took the last couple of dollars she had, and she sent them to this person that could have been a scam. But she got these pashminas, and she was going to sell them, and it's the whole idea. But that book just really resonated with me, and it's funny how sometimes you can read something and it just sticks with you. And that's what happened with A Place of Yes. And I want to read just a little excerpt of what she wrote. And she says, A Place of Yes is about taking responsibility for moving forward. Even if you have to climb over a mountain of obstacles, you are in charge, nobody else. A Place of Yes is your engine. Your energy changes and people around you sense it. They want it to rub off on them, and it does. Incredible opportunities start happening and people start reacting differently to you. The world around you changes, not because the universe suddenly decides you are worthy, but because you change it. You stop being a victim and you start being the ruler of your own destiny. And that, my friends, is the point and purpose of coming from a place of yes. And so I've always thought about this place of yes. She also goes on to talk about and I couldn't find the part in the book, but basically that people will call you for opportunities and that one day they may stop calling. So to take advantage of these special opportunities that come your way. And I've always thought about that. And with the ballroom dancing competition, I thought, I really want to do it, but there's a lot of reasons why I could say no. There's a lot of excuses I could make for not doing it. But is that kind of opportunity going to come knocking every day? No. And at some point, someone, wanting me to be a part of something like that may not reach out to have me do it. So I wanted to come from a place of yes and say yes. And I really feel that if you can say yes and you can do something exciting that helps you break out of your comfort zone, why not do it? Why not do it? What are you going to have to lose? And I can tell you there's going to be so much for you to gain because it's going to make you look at your life in a different way. It's going to change your energy, just like she says, because you become lit up and you become excited. And that is going to change your energy. And guess what? It makes you more magnetic, and people are going to want to be around you. And then I think the waterfall happens where the opportunities keep coming. You're more and more energized. It leads to you following new paths and doing new things in your life. And I just feel like it's such an important, I'm getting like really excited talking about it, but coming from a place of yes. So Bethany Frankel, thank you so much for those words of wisdom. And it's funny that I've read a lot of books, and I've read a lot of amazing books from different people like Tony Robbins and different people out there in the universe that are doing really amazing things. And this book did stick with me. And so I think I'm going to reread it. I was flipping through it last night and kind of rereading some parts, but I think I'm going to reread that book. There's also another little thing she says about breaking out of your comfort zone. When you operate just outside of your comfort zone, you force yourself to fire on all cylinders. You wake up and pay more attention to your life, and you grow. Just push the envelope of your own experience until you feel slight discomfort. That's when you separate from the pack. That's when the magic happens. And I just think what a great reminder, and breaking out of your comfort zone is something that I am really trying to do. And I think I did that recently when I went python hunting and I grabbed the snake by the neck, and I always relate it to that. And I think, we can you can give into the fear of not wanting to do something and be so scared to take that new job at work, so scared to pursue that business, so scared to put yourself out there. But I think of it now as grabbing that snake by the neck. And if I can do that, then the fear of showing up on camera or being on social media or filming at a new studio or joining a new brokerage or doing any of these things that come about in life, that's no big deal. That's a piece of cake. That's really a piece of cake. So, my friends, I want you to think about living from a place of yes, saying yes to those opportunities. Doing the podcast was one. And I think I've talked about this before, that I said yes without really thinking it through. And then as time wore on, I started to think, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do a podcast. Oh, but this person over here is doing such an amazing job at podcasting. And what do I think I know about podcasting? I mean, I got so in my head about it. But when I thought about it, deep down, I had this fire and this desire to share and to put myself out there in that way. It was partly was doing something for myself and feeling like I wanted something for me and something where I could be creative and put my ideas out there. But I also there was this other aspect of really wanting to help people. And I wanted to share the information that I knew and help other people that maybe didn't know that much about health or are just starting to reevaluate the choices that they've been making. And so that is what fuels me to this day, is doing that. And I'm so glad that I didn't let the fear get in the way, that I stepped out of my comfort zone. I came from a place of yes, and the Cinnamon Effect was born. So use this idea in any part of your life. It can be, it can be joining that volunteer group at your child's school, or, it can be anything, but put yourself outside of your comfort zone. Say yes to something that maybe you wouldn't have said yes to. Give your life new energy and become magnetic in the process. So, to wrap up my 104th episode today on the Cinnamon Effect, I just want to tell you all, thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart for listening for 2 years. Oh, I'm going to get choked up. But I really do appreciate it. And if you have liked the show, if you've been following along for a while, I'm going to ask one favor of you. I'm going to ask you to subscribe so that you don't miss anything that I put out there. I guess subscribe. Also, if you can give it a 5-star rating and a review, That would mean the world to me. It helps the show grow. It helps the visibility of the show. And so if you have been a listener, longtime listener, I thank you so much. I would love to hear from you guys. You can reach out to me on social media. You can email me, and I would love to connect. I would also love to know if there's anything that you want to see or hear on the show. I am open to hearing all the things that you guys want to hear about. And I just appreciate you being a part of my community. And I love you. And thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time on The Cinnamon Effect.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Cinnamon Effect. If you enjoyed our time together, don't forget to hit that follow button on your podcast app and sprinkle a little love by leaving us a 5-star rating and a quick review. Your support means the world to me. For even more goodness, check out the show notes where you'll find links to some of my favorite products. And don't forget to visit thecinnamoneffect.com to connect with me directly or to grab your TCE Gratitude Journal, your next step towards a more grateful life. I can't wait to spice things up with you again next time. Stay vibrant, stay inspired, and remember to add a little cinnamon to your life every day.